Today I'm giving you 5 awesome lens choices for portrait photography for your Sony A7 IV or any Sony camera for that matter. I've just been using the A7 IV lately and these lenses work great on it. So let's talk about what makes a great portrait lens. You're typically going to want something with a little bit of reach, maybe from 50 to 150 millimeters, so you do get some nice flattering compression. And you're also going to want a relatively fast aperture so you can get some really nice separation of your subject from the foreground and the background. So let's jump into number 5 here. This is going to be a great option if it's maybe your first time shooting portraits or if you're on a budget. It's the Viltrox 85mm f1.8. So there is a Mark 1 and 2 for this lens. They do perform relatively similarly, so if you do find the Mark 1 on a really great sale, well, it might be worth picking up and saving a few bucks. This lens overall is a great value. It's got decent construction and fairly good image quality and autofocus performance for what you pay for. I've used this lens a ton and could completely recommend it to you.
Here's a look at the size of this lens. It's reasonable at 5 inches with the lens hood installed and weighs about 1.6 pounds, so you're gonna have a little bit of weight to it. With a $399 MSRP, this lens is accessible to most people and might be a great starting point getting into portrait photography. It's going to respond and work relatively well with eye autofocus and autofocus tracking, and be aware that this lens is not image stabilized.
Number 4 on the list is the Samyang or Rokinon 85mm f1.4. This lens has served me well for years. It's a great balance between budget friendliness and performance. I've shot everything from weddings to headshots and a whole bunch of stuff with this lens, and it's served me great over the years. With the Mark II and the newer Samyang lenses, they've done a great job at updating an already successful lens into something that we're all looking for, including better build quality and performance. And again, here's some of my favorite shots with this lens.
I personally love the quality and the colors that you get out of this lens. The fast f1.4 means it's going to be great in low light situations. It does have an MSRP of $699, but you can often find it on sale for much cheaper, making it a great value and very well priced compared to competitors. I would definitely have this one on your shortlist.
Number 3 is another Samyang or Rokinon lens. It's the 135 f1.8. This right now is one of my favorite portrait lenses. Again, a great budget option coming in just shy of $1,000. And in terms of performance, it does not disappoint. It's got everything that you could probably ask for except for maybe the hefty build quality of a G Master. Once again, here are some of my favorite shots with this lens.
At a fraction of the cost of its competitors, Samyang once again proves that you don't need to spend $1 million to get $1 million results. This lens takes incredible pictures, has 11 aperture blades, and with its fast f1.8, you can bet you're going to have some absolutely dreamy and beautiful backgrounds to complement your subjects. It's a relatively light lens, making it easy to handhold, and really there's not much to nitpick about this lens. For a more detailed look, check out my full in-depth review on any of these lenses.
Number 2 on the list is not a budget option. It's the Sony 50mm f1.2 G Master. This thing is a work of art, an incredibly fast aperture to give you some of the most beautiful photos and videos that you could imagine. Now this thing is going to keep up with the fastest cameras, it's got incredible image quality, and it's also incredibly expensive. I'm personally a big fan of the 50mm focal range, and I don't care who you are or what experience level you have, if you have this thing on your camera, it's going to take beautiful photos. Here's some of my favorite shots with this lens.
So I've said it before, but once in a while a company comes out with a lens and it's just effortless. And that's what I describe this lens as. It's absolutely beautiful, almost perfect in every single way. You can't help but just take absolutely beautiful photos with this lens. As you can see here, the quality that you get out of this is just next level. Now with a $2,000 MSRP, you would hope that it would live up to the expectations, and it absolutely does, being in my opinion one of Sony's best lenses to date. If budget's not a concern, this is one of your best options out there.
And number 1 on the list, perhaps one of the best and the most versatile lenses ever made, it's the Tamron 35-150 f2 to 2.8. You heard right, this thing is a 35mm f2, giving you the option to shoot beautiful environmental portraits, but also being able to zoom all the way into 150mm at f2.8. An absolutely incredible lens that I cannot put down. This lens does spend the majority of the time on my camera because of its flexibility, and I can't recommend it enough.
For me, it did replace several lenses, and the size and the weight is actually very reasonable for what this lens actually is. It's not image stabilized, but the autofocus and overall performance of this lens is just outstanding. It's just as good for photography as it is in videos, and let's have a look at some of my favorite shots. So the incredible thing about this lens is it's a zoom lens that performs basically as good as a prime, and you've got all that focal length to play with. It's a fantastic portrait lens, but it doesn't just stop there. You can use it for landscape, you can use it for wildlife. I've put this thing through its paces, and a lot of all-in-one lenses and lenses with a lot of focal range usually struggle when it comes to autofocus. Well, this thing is incredibly surprising, and using Tamron's fast VXD focusing motors, this thing can keep up with faster moving targets no problem. Now with an MSRP of $1,899 US, it is far from a cheap lens, but for me, once again, worth every single penny. Any lens that can replace multiple lenses for me without sacrifice is going to be worth a few extra bucks. At this point, if I could only have one lens in the world, I think this one would be it.
And there you have 5 awesome portrait lenses for your Sony A7 IV, or again, any Sony camera. Let me know your favorite lenses down in the comments or what you think of these ones. If you did want to pick them up, I'll drop affiliate links down in the description for you. Drop all your questions and your comments down below, of course. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.